It'll just take a minute to.
That's all right.
Right, we're starting.
Cool. Okay, right, welcome everyone. I will declare the meeting open. We have a couple of apologies. Rebecca, can you just tell us who the apologies are from?
Yes, we have an apology from Mayor Tim Cadogan and an apology from Councillor Neil Gillespie, as well as an apology from Councillor Ian Cooney, who's one of our observers.
Great, thank you. Okay, so first agenda item is confirmation of the minutes of the meeting 3rd of December. I will, any comments or questions on it? Okay, I will move that we accept those minutes.
Second that.
Second that, thank you. Are those in favour say aye? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. And now declarations of interest. Any changes to the declarations of interest? No? Okay, I don't have any either.
Sorry, Linda, are you able to move and second the apologies, please? Wayne here.
Oh, okay. I will move that we accept the apologies. Would someone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Okay. Okay, so no changes to the declarations of interest. So we are on to the policy and strategy register, which is Alex.
Good morning. Kia ora e te virtual whare, e aku rangatira tēnā koutou. It's quite a quiet period of time for the policy and strategy register this last break because of the lack of meetings. So we've had one policy updated, the asset management policy, and we've got a couple on the agenda today, I believe, from the information management space. Since the last meeting, I've begun the process of colour coding. So at the moment, it's up to date with every policy I'm aware of that's out of date. But to be thorough before the next meeting, I want to run through all of the others, so it will be accurate from that point. And finally, I've just noticed one small issue this morning. You'll have seen the staff interest policy has 2023 on my register and 2024 on the policy itself. So I will fix that one as well. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay. Right. Any questions on the register? Okay, I had just one. We have in the health and safety report, I think it was, an update on the, what was it called? The vaccination policy. But I don't see it on the register.
Let me check with health and safety on that one. She did not mention that, but it's easy to update. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other challenge, obviously, isn't it? Keeping it all updated. But it's looking very tidy. You know, a lot of hard work. This doesn't happen automatically. So thank you for that. Okay, so
sorry, I did have a question. Sorry.
Yep.
So under the district plan, it's got a period there for review of December 2022.
Let me look down to that. It does too. Okay.
Is that my question? Basically, is that factual?
That is a date that was put on by my predecessor that I have not updated through the district plan process. Let me clarify that one, but I believe that will be out of date now.
I think there'll be a real question mark about that.
Yeah.
Louise here, through the chair. I could comment on that if you like.
Thank you.
You will recall that the council agreed that we, rather than do a wholesale review of the district plan, we focus on important areas such as accommodating growth, and therefore are progressing spatial plans. And we've completed a spatial plan for Cromwell and now also for Vincent. And what is coming out of that is a series of plan changes to the operative plan. So we're not actually reviewing the district plan in a holistic manner. So it's not correct. You're right, Stephen.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's then perhaps move on to the staff interest policy. And who was talking to this?
The staff interest policy was reviewed by the risk manager before she left and is owned by HR. So I've attached it to my report for today, and I will probably need to take your questions away, but I have read over it to do my best.
Okay. Okay, guys. So any questions or comments on this policy? Okay. Well, perhaps I had just a couple. It says it's already approved, yet it's coming to the ARC. So I would have thought that if our input is sought, it would be sought prior to approval. So that's something perhaps just to put into the, you know, the renewals. I had a question, page 23 of the pack. How are independent contractors made aware of this policy? Because our covered, it says within it.
They will be. We do have a process and a register for the way we engage with contractors. So my assumption is it's part of that, but do let me check on that to be 100% sure.
Okay. My other comment was just, and this is just an easy edit. It refers to the Privacy Act 1993. Of course, that's been superseded with the Privacy Act 2020. But my other question is the staff interest register, and this is page 28. And just want to get confirmation that the register is updated and reviewed by the executive team every 6 months, and is all declarations are updated every year by 1 July, just whether or not indeed the practice equals the policy. So I suppose we need to seek assurance from someone on the executive team for that.
Through the chair.
Yep.
It's Leanne here.
Hi, so I can't see anyone, so it's very weird.
Sorry, do you want me to put my camera on?
Oh, yes, please.
How's that?
Oh, much better. Thank you. It was just a voice out of the...
Voice out of the dark.
Yeah.
Through the chair, so the business risk and procurement advisor typically sends out an email at the end of each financial year, asking for any updates on staff interest register, and people also give us updates as the year progresses, and those are kept on their files because obviously it's confidential information. So I'm not aware of reviewing that 6 monthly. We review, or the chief exec reviews the gift register, but I wasn't aware of the staff interest register, so I'll look into that.
Right, because the key thing obviously is practice has to equal policy. So either practice has to change and the executive team does have to review this biannually or every 6 months, or the policy has to change and says it's not reviewed by anyone, which I wouldn't have thought would be appropriate.
I'll follow up on that one for sure.
Okay.
Just on page 28, there's a typo there. The practice with a C, not practice with an S, and that's repeated further down on the page as well.
The first time you've noted that, Nigel.
Well done. Okay, so the ARC has reviewed the policy and given some comments through. Perhaps we can just get an update back at the next meeting whether or not the changes have been made to practice or the changes have been made to policy. Obviously the rest is just a slight, tweaks. So we have the recommendation that we receive the report. I will so move.
I will second.
Thank you, Stephen. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay. We are now moving to page 27. Sorry, I've got to navigate here. And this is the Audit and Risk Committee Terms of Reference. So,
That's me, thank you.
thank you, Alex. Sorry.
Rebecca here.
Yep, Rebecca, thank you.
Yeah, so the Audit and Risk Terms of Reference, this is an opportunity for the Audit and Risk Committee to consider its terms of reference prior to the elections that are happening in October this year, and any suggestions that you have will be forwarded to the incoming council for inclusion in the delegation register. You'll note in the appendix that some suggestions have been made just to ensure that the terms of reference match current practice. And so, yeah, that's just open to questions.
Okay. We've also got some feedback from Tim, so I'll be Tim as well. But Nigel, Stephen, any comments?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. There was just a comment Tim picked up, appointment of the Audit and Risk Committee Deputy Chair. We don't have one. We never have had one. We probably don't need one. So we think we could delete that in total. And also
just on that.
Yep.
So if there was a circumstance when you had a conflict of interest and couldn't participate in discussion, you would need somebody to chair the meeting.
Yep.
And so will you just decide that at the time, or?
Yeah, well, I suppose again it's just reflecting practice. I mean, we've never appointed a deputy chair.
Yeah, but this is an
and in the past, when I've been running late, I've just asked someone else to chair the meeting. So we can do that. Or we can keep it in and we need to formally appoint a deputy chair.
I'm fine either way. It's just, I think it's probably good practice that the meeting's not quorate without you as in attendance. However, that's just to cover those circumstances when you may have a conflict, can't participate.
Yeah, well then,
so it's fine either way.
Yeah, so it'd be one of the participants at the meeting would then, I'd ask them to chair, because we might not have. Yeah, I think we can take it out. We can.
Through the chair.
Yep.
It's Leanne again.
Hi.
When you temporarily appoint a person to step in your place, is that not appointing a deputy chair for that moment in time?
No, because you're asking them to chair the meeting.
Okay.
I think that's my thinking. And just the one that's been added in, the mayor and 3 councillor members will select and appoint the external committee member, which is quite correct. But saying it's every 3 years, that's a little bit too prescriptive, because I know the appointments, you want to schedule the appointments so that they sit outside of the election cycle. But I might resign next week or get hit by a bus or something, and you don't want to be forced to have to appoint a replacement for 3 years that the appointment cycle might not be right. So
as a suggestion, sorry.
Yep, no, Rebecca, yep.
As a suggestion, adding the words each triennium or as required.
That would do, yep. Yeah, just having each triennium was a wee bit prescriptive, we thought.
And as to that point, we deliberately have got that triennium for the chair, appointment of an independent chair, all set against the election cycle, whether we need to incorporate that somehow.
Yeah, perhaps if we just say or is required to accommodate or something with the election cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add in. I'll suggest some wording around each triennium following the year of the election, or as required.
Yeah, I think that's all right. Is that all right, Stephen, Nigel?
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well that covers Tim's comments as well. So with those changes, let's get back to the recommendation. We are to consider the report, recommend to council that they accept the proposed amendments, of which we've made a few more, and we're recommending that to the council as our Audit and Risk Committee terms of reference. So I will so move.
I will second.
Thank you, Stephen. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Great, thanks. Okay, we move to page 32, which is the external and internal audit. So, Leanne, we've got you back.
Good morning, everyone. So I will take the paper as read. We've made a few changes following last audit and risk meetings. We've built in the internal audit review program, so it's visual. And we have also in our register where we've changed a date, such as the third party acknowledgement, we've crossed out the original date so that you can see it and put in the new date. And that just helps you visually see where we've made changes. In regards to the Audit New Zealand Management Report, we received the report late last week. I haven't had time to review that yet, so I haven't seen what remains and what hasn't been signed off, or what has been signed off. Other than that, I can update that the internal audit findings, which was around payroll, we have now got our process all documented and put together, and I know our finance managers use that process to check that it works, so that we've got backup, sufficient backup if our payroll officer went down unwell. And we were all set to start training the last set of the pools on the manual timesheets, and we went into our bubble, so that's made that a little bit more challenging.
Right.
Other than that, happy to take questions.
Okay. Stephen, Nigel, any questions or comments?
Yeah, yes, I do, because it's, and you've got the note suggested alternative audit review options. Can you comment on that, Paul?
So when Deloitte's presented to Audit and Risk, these were other they went through the list that was really all the trends, and we Audit and Risk picked the ones we've got, but we left those there, so if we wanted to change our mind or consider them in another year, we would.
Right, so they're sort of holding for potential future audits, I suppose, so we don't lose that thinking.
And if we ended up with lots of budget one year and we couldn't do another audit or something, we might consider one of those.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it certainly does for me, but I just wondered about business continuity and disaster recovery. I think that's quite significant. Just how far out is that? Or is there a time for that?
I haven't got a time for that, but I'm happy if Audit and Risk would prefer us to move that and change it for one of the other ones, because the budgets are set, so I can't just...
Yeah, that would be the question, isn't it? What would be better to replace from an audit perspective? Stephen, what did you think?
I think that the IT team would probably be best to answer that, because they have the total understanding. From a layperson looking in from the outside, I think that would be a very important thing to have up and running and audited reasonably often. So not seeing that it's going to happen until at least 2025, if you assume that everything's budgeted until then, I would question that. Yeah.
I'd agree with Stephen.
Can I make a suggestion in that we're having a procurement audit this year, which will at a high level look at some of the contracts that go behind the procurement. Would you feel comfortable if we dropped out contract management next year and put in business continuity?
Yeah, once again, I'd say I'm nervous about the fact that I can't see when it's going to be reviewed, but I think the IT team themselves will probably need to comment on that.
Okay, well, we've got IT coming with cybersecurity, so let's perhaps, and business continuity isn't just IT, to be clear.
No, it's not.
I appreciate
Nathan
that.
is sitting there, but you're correct, it's not just IT.
Mm.
No, that's,
Perhaps we could put it back to the ELT and to consider whether a business continuity and disaster recovery might be better to replace contract management, and see what they're thinking. We'll perhaps look at it at the next meeting.
Happy to do that.
Okay, just a question on the internal audit program. So we've got information records management financial year 2021 and a tick. Does tick mean it's done?
Yes, we had the Nathan had information records management brought, I thought, to you.
So it's been completed. Yeah, it's just that at the moment there's sort of it doesn't really give us an idea of the status. It's just got ticks.
Yeah. So had we not got it done, it wouldn't have had the tick. So at the moment we've got 2 booked for this year. So the ticks actually reflect the years that they're in.
But we did payroll, and it's not on it with a tick.
Payroll wasn't part of the internal audit review program. It was an extra that I got done because there was concern.
Okay, I just can't recall.
Concern, but I needed to have confidence in what we were doing.
Right. Okay. I haven't checked back. Just a question. So procurement and cybersecurity are both meant to be done and completed by the end of June 2022, which is 4 months away. Are they both on time and for meeting that target?
Our procurement audit is booked for April/May. That is subject to no lockdowns, in which we shouldn't be experiencing anymore. And it will also be subject to the availability of staff, because right now we don't have a business risk and procurement advisor, which means I would have to try and run that audit in amongst my other work. But at this stage, it's booked to come on site at that time.
Okay. And cybersecurity as well, I think, is booked for around that too, isn't it?
It is, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so they're both expected to be completed on time at the moment.
Correct.
Excellent. And I just had one more question. It said in part of the commentary on page 35, 2 recommendations are not being implemented. These are external, but so.
Correct, we discussed that last audit and risk meeting and it was around 3 waters where we weren't going to do anything else.
Okay.
So we did actually discuss it at the time. We said we weren't going to take the roading and the bridges, I think it was, no further action.
Excellent. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, any further questions or discussion? I've got to say, Leanne, it's looking very tidy. I mean, it's good, and we'll get the management report, the audit and risk report at the next meeting, so that'll be good.
I would expect so. We will review it and get the relevant people to make comments, because there's almost that room, and then get it back to Audit New Zealand for them to finalise. So I would expect to have it back by June, yes.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, well, in that case, I will move that the report be received.
Second that.
Thank you, Stephen. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we move on to page 36, which is the financial report, and that is Anne.
Hi, I will take the report as read. In summary, the operating surplus for period ended 31st of December is 6.9 and it's 3.5 million unfavourable to the budget of 10.4. The income variances is mainly because of Three Waters land and the timing of the Dunstan Park subdivision sales, which started coming through in January, and I've just had a look at the income now and we've got 3.7 million in. So for January, we're pretty close to the budgeted income. Capital expenditure is 13.5 million compared to year-to-date budget of 31.45, and we're currently working on the revised forecast, which will take to council in April. The main capital underspends relate to the Cromwell Master Plan. That's 3.4 million behind. Parks and Reserves 1.18, which is mainly for the Cromwell pump, heat pump at the pole, and 957,000 behind schedule and roading. And the large underspends in Three Waters is the timing of our major projects, being Lake Dunstan Water, Clyde Wastewater, water treatment upgrades, water supply renewals, and the water stimulus funds. The report this quarter also includes a statement of financial position, just showing the comparisons between actual and budget, including the reserve funds. Accounts receivable at 31st of December has an outstanding balance of 136,000, but there's 57,000 of that we received in January. And at 31st of December, council had cash balances of 10.8 million, which we had 6 million in term deposits. We've also shown in the accounts receivable in this report the comparatives for October, November and December quarter last year. So we're running on par with that. The internal loans are forecast to be 4 million at 30th of June, with the external loans at 162,000. And the expected balance of the reserves 30th of June is 10.7 deficit, with the funding for that being currently negotiated. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, I'll open up for questions.
Okay, I will start. So in terms of a great report, better stay that for a start because I'm always asking questions. CapEx, I think I noted here, we've only actually spent 21% of the budget for the current financial year.
Of the revised budget.
So for me, I can understand the current environment and how we get into those situations, but I'm nervous about the stimulus funding. What guarantees have we got that we're going to be able to use up the surplus, use up the stimulus funding before the date, which is 24 now? And if there is any hold-ups, do other projects need to be brought forward so we can actually spend that money? I guess I'm asking questions the financial team almost can't answer. I don't know whether Julie's still there, but I'm nervous about that CapEx fund.
Julie, are you there?
I am. So just through the chair, I have an item that I will be discussing with the committee relating to this, but we at this stage we are confident that we will deliver the stimulus projects. However, we will be pushing up against the 30th of June deadline. There is a significant amount of work underway now that you'll have been seeing coming through in our updates, and the cash flow is ramping up quite rapidly on those projects now.
But you're saying you're quite confident, Julie, that we will use up that stimulus funding before?
Yes, we have some backup work that we've brought forward that's on an approved contingency list that has been approved by the DIA that we are progressing now, that we can pull into the stimulus fund if we don't get the projects that we're currently working on completed. So we can't claim for all the work that's completed, which will be a significant amount on the likes of the Alexandra Reservoir and those falling mains, and also the Wrightsons pump station.
Thanks, Julie. And we'll be looking at the projects a bit later too, won't we? Any other questions?
I had a question on page 36. The first bullet point refers to land sales have not occurred within the budgeted time frame. Which land is being referred to?
So that was the Dunstan Park subdivision, and in the budget we had expected the funds to come through earlier than they have, and as I said before, we've now received 3.7 million for the land sales. So it's just a timing issue.
So it's not referring to other land sales, such as the Bannockburn waste site or...
Correct. That was through the chair. It is hard to gauge when we're going to sell land, and often we put in a time frame. All going well, it should align by the end of the financial year, but it's I won't say it's anybody's guess. It's getting the getting it sold and titles through, etc., and the timeliness of what we were planning.
So that bullet point refers specifically to Dunstan and nothing else.
There's the land sale revenue for the Dunstan Park subdivision and Three Waters land.
No.
Sorry, who was that?
Yeah.
Is that Julie? No?
No, it was an error.
I think it might just be someone needing to go on.
I'm just muting them. I'm muting them.
Okay. So we just had a question, and Tim was asking if it was Mutton Town.
Through the chair, Julie, can you remember? I thought it was Bannockburn.
Yes, it is the Bannockburn wastewater site that is, and we're currently working through the process of disposing of that land.
Okay.
There's a report coming to council on that.
Okay.
Right, so it's not just Dunstan, it's...
I think that it was the majority of the variance related to Dunstan, but we can clarify exactly what that's made up of tonight.
Thank you.
Right, any further questions? Thanks, great report, thank you. Okay, so the recommendation is that the report be received. I will so move. If Stephen, you'd like to second that?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Okay, we go to page 47, which is the cyber security plan.
Morning. Nathan McLeod here, Information Services Manager.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Morning all. Hope the virtual world of Teams is treating everybody well this morning.
Just loving it, mate.
Sorry?
Just loving it.
I will take the paper as read. I will also be touching on the cybersecurity audit and the state of our disaster recovery during this report as well. Cybersecurity Plan 2018 to 2021 update. Glenn represented on this last time while I was away. We are seeking input on the information you would like to get on the status of Council's cybersecurity. I want to be proactive with this committee and not coming to you following an event, seeking feedback. Typically, cybersecurity is not seen as important until an event has occurred. I want to ensure that's not the case in this organisation. We have a wide range of data and systems to protect, most importantly, our confidential customer data. The current plan has served its purpose in terms of maturing the state of cybersecurity at Council, and this year, following an external audit, a new plan will be brought to this committee for feedback. The purpose of this report is to give you an update on what's happening in New Zealand, what's happening at Council, how we're tracking against our framework, the ALGIM, or Association of Local Government Information Management Cybersecurity Program, any outstanding recommended items, and also an update on the program of work. I do plan to pull the last three items together in the future reports once we've gone through the next audit. So please let me know if this is too much information or not enough information, or if it doesn't make sense. I want to get the report right for this committee. I'm just going to touch on some of the highlights as I see them in the report. So in terms of what's happening in New Zealand, this information is from Q3 of 2021, being the latest information from CERT, the information I sourced this from at the time of writing the report. Phishing and credential harvesting attacks are targeted at people is still the largest type of incident across New Zealand. Additionally, malware, being viruses, incidents have more than tripled in this period. What's happening at council here? Their protective technology, as you can see, is blocking a number of threats from January through to the February period. What Information Services is seeing is a trend on attacks related to technology platforms rather than on people since the last report to this committee, none of which have impacted council, which is excellent news. In terms of the framework program update, this is the framework Information Services utilises to benchmark ourselves against other councils and ensures we are meeting our policies and standards. The main focus point has been documenting our processes and procedures across the framework, from asset management relating to our hardware and software, incident, problem, change, knowledge, preventative maintenance, project, and also service desk and services related procedures and processes. These processes were already being utilised within Information Services, and maturity is increasing each month as we adopt our new standards. The most important process within that group is our incident process, in particular our critical incident process, which relates to anything related to cybersecurity and privacy breaches. Another key project that we've been working on is the renewal of our server and storage infrastructure, which includes our backup and our ability to recover in a disaster recovery situation. We have moved to a managed solution, with the primary environment still housed in Alexandra, but our backup and disaster recovery environments are now housed in an Auckland data centre. This gives us an improved environment to cater for a wider range of business continuity events. We are in the process of currently updating any procedures and plans and planning to test those environments as well in the coming months. In terms of key recommendations from a previous audit, we have none outstanding, which is excellent. In terms of the program of work, our focus, as I've already mentioned, has been on our processes and procedures and the renewal of our server infrastructure, backup recovery and disaster recovery environments. And also we are preparing for the next cybersecurity audit. Any questions?
Okay. Open up for questions.
Yeah, I will kick it off. Nathan, thanks. So for my benefit, if the system that you currently have and all your data storage in the building that you're in, if it all failed, you can totally back up from the Auckland data centre, is that correct?
Correct.
It's comforting to know, I guess.
Yeah. The additional part to that is a lot of our critical applications or software moves to various cloud environments. Email is a good example. We are also backing up that environment into that backup environment in Auckland as well.
So another question, I think it was partly the Mayor's question, to be honest, is the colour coding on the graphs at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think he was questioning that.
The legend's very confusing.
Yeah.
So for example, if you went to page 57, and it has a graph that says the Elgin Local Government Security Program is the blue line and Elgin is the yellow line.
Yes.
So and I assume CODC is the blue line, which would show 77%. Is that
actually? I'm assuming, I believe we are the blue line. That's our program. Yes.
Yeah, we should be able to tell in the legend.
Yes, I agree. I've actually never noticed that. Sorry, I will get that corrected.
It's not just that graph; it's all of them. They're very confusing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I thought it was just me, but it wasn't just me. So.
I assumed it was the blue graph because that showed everything as being better. So I thought that must be us.
Surely, yes. So, I mean, yeah, but all the graphs are like that. The legends don't make sense. So if you could review that. I do think the report is excellent, by the way, with the exception of the graphs. Sorry, Stephen, any more questions?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Nigel?
No, I've got no questions. I would note a typo on page 53. You've got, it should be performing, not preforming.
And I just had one further question with the audit that's being done. Would within that audit, because I understand the assessment that you've done against the what's it called, Algem, is a self-assessment. Do they also look at your assessment against Algem and whether or not you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, or whether they agree with the your assessment?
So the external auditor set the initial benchmark within that assessment, and then each month Glenn and myself review how we're tracking against that. We will then go back and re-review how we're going in reality versus what we're assessing ourselves at, and reset us basically.
Good, so they will look at that.
The auditor that we use is completely independent of any technology partners that we've got as well, which is critical as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Sorry, the auditor you got, is that Deloitte?
No, it's an individual by the name of Tony Kay. He's part of the Algem program of work.
Okay, right. But it comes under the internal audit program, doesn't it, Leanne? But it's just provided by someone other than Deloitte. Is that right?
Correct. The internal audit isn't just Deloitte's, it's whom we may need depending on what we're doing.
Great. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's no further questions, the recommendation is the report be received. I would so move. Stephen? Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Nathan. Now we're at the Goima request policy, which is page 65.
So in terms of look on the request policy, I'm seeking review and recommend the Chief Executive approves the new Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act request policy, which relates to the release of official information from Council. Members of public are entitled to request various information from Council. We currently do not have a policy relating to the release of this information. It's recommended by the Ombudsman under their assessment framework that Council adopts such a policy. Following research and consultation, we have prepared the attached policy, which a soft review will occur in 1 year. Do you have any questions or suggestions?
Well, I've got one from Tim just first up, and this is with regard to page 72, where for the initial charge for half hour or part thereof is $38, and then additional half hour or part thereof is $38. So why have two lines when it's just one charge?
We've been following the recommendations from, I'm going to say the Ombudsman, but I don't believe it is the Ombudsman, sorry.
Yeah, but if the charge is the same, then it doesn't matter, does it?
We can simplify that.
Yep. Okay. Stephen or Nigel?
I had a question on page 69 under request. A request can be made in various forms, including verbal or written directly from individuals. And my question relates to whether we should be accepting a verbal request, because if it's verbal, you've got no record.
The recommendation, or as per the Act, we need to take it in that manner. Typically, we would write that down and make sure that is being interpreted correctly by the requester.
Okay.
And through the chair, we always have to acknowledge a time frame, which means it then becomes a documented response.
So it becomes documented by definition.
Okay, and there are right, so we've got the timeframes in here, but we don't have anything that clarifies that within the policy. Is there a procedure that sits in under this?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I had just one. Oh, sorry, was that someone? No. I had just one on the release of information. It says council may decide to release information. I think with policies, you need to be clear who has the discretion to decide whether information can or can't be released, rather than just this council.
So typically that is comes from the executive team or the chief executive.
So any member of the executive team or the chief executive can decide?
Depends on the topic that's being addressed, covered.
Okay, where are the delegations clear somewhere else then?
Yes,
If not the policy?
Yes, they are in the delegations register.
Okay, I think that should be referenced then, to say that, you know, there are specific delegations around who has the ability to release certain types of information. So it's subject to the delegations register. I think that would tidy it up.
Okay, I will get that change made.
Okay. Excellent. So then we are being asked, now we've been asked to recommend, and given that we're a committee that recommends approvals to council, we are proposing a change to the for the minutes that we support that the chief executive approves the policy rather than recommending to the chief executive. Is that all right, Rebecca?
It's fine.
Cool. Okay. So with that change to the recommendation, I will so move.
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. All those in favour say aye.
Yeah.
Against? Carried. Okay, and now we have the privacy policy on page 71. Nathan, it's a big day for you.
It is. So again, I'm seeking to review and this time support the chief executive approves the privacy policy for council use in relation to the Privacy Act 2020. Sorry. Current policy of the the current privacy policy is actually a privacy statement on council website. Due to the complex personal data council collects, it's recommended this privacy policy replaces the statement to strengthen council's commitment to privacy and the use of personal information. This policy forms part of council's privacy plan program of work. This plan is to ensure council is adhering to the information principles. A soft review will occur again in 1 year's time. Any suggestions or questions relating to this policy?
Stephen, Nigel?
Nothing from me.
Okay. I've just got one. Oh, sorry, Nigel?
No.
No. I've just got one question. This policy at the moment reads as only for external people to council, whereas council also has internal obligations of privacy to employees. So if this is the privacy policy, where are those obligations? Because it says personal information can only be shared outside council. What about all the information that can be shared internally or is held internally about employees?
Those are typically addressed for our internal processes, but I think that should be referenced in this policy.
Yeah, I think it's a bit narrow.
Okay. I'll expand the scope.
Okay. So how are we best to do that then? We don't meet until June. Can it wait that long?
Through the chair, Rebecca here. One suggestion is that you could, in your recommendation, supports the chief executive to consider an expansion of scope to include
we approve it? I mean,
because ultimately the chief executive approves it. So if you're suggesting what they then consider in that approval process,
okay,
might be a way forward.
Okay, well all right, well let's do that then. So we're receiving the report. I will move that we receive the report. We support the chief executive expanding the scope of the policy to include internal privacy considerations. And they can then approve that policy, but I think it would be worthwhile it coming back to ARC, not for our approval, but just for our seeing it at the next meeting.
Not a problem. I can do that.
Okay, so I'll move that.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks.
Through the chair, Rebecca here. Can I just check that the minute taker got that new wording, please?
Yeah, it supports the chief executive. Actually, supports. Yeah, could you just read it out one more time?
Well, I wrote it up. Expands the scope of the policy to include internal privacy relating to staff. Prior to implementation.
Thank you.
Right, implementation.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, we move on now. Thank you, Nathan. That's excellent.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thanks, Nathan.
Now we move to page 77, Health and Safety and Wellbeing Report.
Lou, can you put your camera on, please?
Good morning, everyone. I will take the report as read and just a couple of key points in the report. So lost time injury rate, the audit and risk raised the question about the average level of lost time injury. Council's taken the business leaders health safety forum report as a benchmark. This is a national average of 1.99 injuries per 200,000 hours worked. In 2021, Council had an average of 2.227, which accounts for 3 injuries, and this number will be presented as a rolling average going forward. ACC on the report. ACC is being included in this report as it's a good opportunity to reflect on the year that was. Although we had the highest number of claims processed by ACC, they were low severity and 4 did not require any time from work. In previous years, there's been higher lost work hours cost to the organisation. So Council has introduced a return to work or injury management process for managers and employees to follow that's focused on returning people to work in a way that supports their injury and keeps them engaged. This has likely contributed to the lower impact of the claims. Employees are able to be supported at work if they are injured for any reason, personal or work. We have no employers currently on work-related ACC. And just one last thing around critical risk. The main change to this section is to include the number of incident reports relating to critical risk area. All reports raised in the system were proactive. That means employees are making observations and reporting unsafe behaviour or situation. This allows us to review how they've been exposed to the critical risk and consider if there's anything else that we can do along that process. Any questions?
Any questions, Stephen?
Nothing.
I thought this was great reporting. I think it's come a long way. It's really good. We've got Council just a little. I think that graph on page, if I'm interpreting it right, 82 shows Council's just a little bit above average, but not much. And you've got a lot of missed, slips and trips. No, that's not the right word. Reporting coming through, which is showing that you've got a well-engaged workforce, I think.
Absolutely, Linda. It's good to see that 75% mark coming through. That's a really good result on reporting.
Yep.
Could I ask through you, Linda, just I don't know or understand it, but from reading the report, ACC either gives you a discount or can load your premiums depending on the impact you have on the scheme, so that getting people back to work and functioning is actually virtuous in the sense that it can affect our discounts of the premium. Is that how it works?
It does have it can have an impact, yes, Nigel, on our premiums if we have ACC's claims going through. So that will move with the amount of claims that go through, correct? So
that's quite apart from the health and safety of the individual. That's a financial incentive to be proactive in this area.
Yeah. Yes. Spot on.
Thank you.
So I just saw something I had a question on, and this is page 81, just in your 2.3 outstanding actions. Anything particularly onerous or tricky or just too hard?
Sorry, Linda, I'm just trying to figure out where you are. 2.3.
So it's page 81, 2.3. It just says there's 2 outstanding actions.
I'd have to follow up on that one, Linda. Rachel's got that detail for me, but they would be probably minor actions.
That was my first expectation, but I thought I'd better ask.
Yeah. I will follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other further questions? Okay, right, excellent report. Right, so I will so move that the report be received.
Second.
Seconded, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Okay, Chair's report. I have nothing to report. Members' report.
Nothing from me.
Okay, right.
I could report that I've been involved in a subcommittee of the Cromwell Community Board that is working actively with architects who have been appointed for the Cromwell Memorial, for a new Cromwell Memorial Hall, and a tentative timetable has been put in place. And it's interesting because after so many years of machinations and back and forth on this project, it's finally the rubber's hitting the road, and it's hitting the road quite quickly. So that's an interesting process to be part of.
Excellent. It's good to see action. Okay, well, I'll move that report be received.
Second.
Excellent, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Against? Carried. Okay, so we have the status report, governance report.
No, nothing extra to add on that.
To talk to it. Oh, I had a question, sorry. Let's just see if this works. Annual plan. We've got here that the annual plan, oversight and preparation of the annual plan was for the February meeting. Is there a verbal update at all?
Through the chair, yes, I was happy. I was going to give a verbal later in the meeting at the exec updates.
Okay, well that's fine. Thank you. Just don't want to miss something off. Cool. Okay, all good. In that case, I will move that the report be received.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. And just confirming the date of the next meeting is the 3rd of June. We've got all that in our diary. And we now have a resolution to exclude the public for the reasons noted in the paper. I will so move.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Excellent.
Just ending the live stream now.
Okay, thank you.